Hello, darlings. I am Cassandra George Sturgis. Welcome to my channel, Authentic Beauty Handmade Dolls and Crafts. In this video, I am going to show you how to use plastic joints to make your doll's arms movable, and how to use a wire armature so that they're posable. In addition, I'm going to show you how to attach the head to your mermaid sock doll. Thank you so much for watching. The first thing you're going to do is trace the pattern onto your sock, and then you're going to sew around the markings. And once you sew around the markings, you are going to cut it out. And once you cut it out, you are going to flip the flip the sock inside out, and you are going to begin to stuff it with fiberfill. And I would suggest morning mist or mountain mist or morning glory fiberfill. Now, the first thing you want to do is take some fiberfill, twirl it around a doll or the end of a paintbrush, and you want to stick it inside of the doll's thumb. And then once you stick the fiberfill in the thumb, you want to pinch it between your fingers and just pull it off and leave it in the thumb, because this is a very difficult area to stuff. I am so excited that I am almost finished editing the videos for this Geraldine sock doll tutorial. And one of the things I know about myself is that I have a tendency to, I don't want to say get bored easily, because, well, I have an uncle and he fought in the Vietnam War, and I remember when I was a teenager and I once said that I was bored, and my uncle said only stupid people get bored. He said, do you know how many things there are to do in this world, to discover, to read? He said, don't ever let me hear you say that again. So I'll just say this. Once I complete something, I get very excited about starting a new project and doing something different. And one of my favorite places to be is in a place of unknowing or being lost. Have you ever just like gone someplace, or you were going on a trip and you were lost, but you found like this new coffee shop, or you found something new? Or sometimes when I go to the store and they say, ma'am, may I help you? And I know what I'm there for, but I always say no, because I want to get lost in the store and I want to see what else is there. So yeah, I love this. I love it when I have this nervous pit or this nervous energy inside of my stomach when I don't know what's going to happen next. So for me, when I finish a project, it's really good for me to start a new project, because it keeps me very excited about doll making or any other endeavor that I'm interested in. So now that I have turned the arms inside out, I am measuring my wire to see how long it needs to be, because I want to be able to, bend her arms at the elbow. And I'm taking these, I don't know if these are needle nose pliers, and I'm twirling them around at the bottom and at the top, or at both ends. I should say at both ends, to make sure it doesn't stick through the sock fabric. And then I am going to stick it inside, and then I'm going to stuff the fiberfill around it. I purchased this wire at the hardware store. I think it was like Lowe's or something, and I love it because it has a green coating on it, and it's very inexpensive, and you get about, it's like a big roll. It's like a huge roll, and it lasts a long time. And you don't need to double it up like other wire, but the downside is it's very firm. I mean, like sometimes when you want to make a quick pose, or especially like a joint like a finger, I wouldn't suggest it, because the finger is going to be very hard to move. But for legs and arms, I think it's perfect, especially for doll making. So as you can see in the video here, I stuffed the wire inside of her arm and hand. And here I am twirling the fiber fill around the end of the doll stick, you see? And then I am going to stuff that into the thumb area. And you want to just, twirl it around there very gently, almost like if you were twirling a Q-tip, you see? And you're going to take that inside of the arm all the way down to the thumb. And you see how I used my fingers to hold it in place? Because if you just try to stuff it, a lot of times it will not stay, it will not remain in place. And now I'm going to go ahead and stuff the arm with the fiber fill. Now I have tried this both ways, like maybe stuffing it and then putting the wire in. No, it doesn't work. For some reason, I don't know, it just does not work. So I always put the wire in first because of trial and error, and then I stuff it with the fiber fill and try to stuff it around the wire. So as you are stuffing, you want to like stuff, in one area and then kind of push the fiber fill so that it covers the wire. Now, typically I never get it perfect. So if the wire is going to show, try to make sure it's on the inside of the doll's arm as opposed to the outside of the doll's arm. You want to stuff the arm so that it is firm, but not too firm, because it is an arm and you don't want it to look like a fat piece of sausage, which is very easy to do for an arm. Making the doll's arms have been one of the most difficult tasks for me to learn how to do. And I remember when I first started making dolls, I was obsessed with getting the perfect arm length, and I realized that I wanted the tip of the doll's hand to touch her thigh, mid-thigh, so that it would be in proportion to her legs. So one issue was I wanted it to be in the middle of her leg, and then the other was that I didn't want it to look like like too fat or too skinny. And I just remember one time I made a doll's arm, and I think it was maybe about 4 or 5 times. I went back to Joann's to get fabric, and they no longer carried that particular fabric, and so my doll ended up having a different fabric for her arms. So as you can see, the arm is nicely stuffed. Oh, I love it. I love this arm. Okay, now it's going to get a little bit complicated. Now, what we are using here are plastic joints, and I can tell you this about a plastic joint from experience. If you do not put the plastic pieces in correctly, you will not be able to take that little prong and stick it into the other side. And I cannot tell you how many times I've done it wrong, where I had to cut the thread, take the little pieces out, and start over. So listen, you want to make sure that if you're looking at the little disc, and I actually took a picture here, and I hope that you can see this. You want to make sure that the little, I don't know what you call this part here, but you want to make sure this is sticking out. Make sure this is sticking out, and that you are sticking the prong into that area. Now, to me, it doesn't seem intuitive to me, because in my mind, the prong should go in the back of that, not right into the flower opening portion. But you want to make sure that is the area that the prong goes into. So you have 3 pieces. You have the one with the little prong sticking out, and then you have a flat piece like a washer. And then what you want to do is have the piece with the prong sticking out that goes in to the arm first. And then you want to put the washer on top of that. You see here? I know if it's not clear. And then you're going to take the piece that's sticking out that looks like a screw, and you're going to stick that into the hole. Now, when you put these 2 pieces inside of the doll's arm, I like to usually take a piece of stick or a piece of a hot glue stick if it's a bigger doll, and I'll stick it in the hole because you want to keep those two together. Now what I'm doing here is I stuck those two pieces inside of the arm, like the shoulder, and I'm using a running stitch around it, and I'm leaving an opening right in the middle where the holes are, and that is where I'm going to stick the prongs in. I really hope that this makes sense to you. So basically, you're going to make sure that the little piece with the flower opening, let's just say that, is always facing you. And then you're going to take the washer piece and place it on top of the flower opening. And you're going to place these two inside of the shoulder. And then you're going to do a running stitch around it, and you're going to leave a little opening, just like the one here in the picture. I'll put the pen in there so you can see that I'm trying to make sure that I keep those two holes together, so that when I'm ready to stick I call it a prong, or it looks like the screw or whatever, when I'm ready to stick it in there, they will be aligned. So now what we're going to do is take the plastic joint, the part with the what do you call it? I don't know what you call it, guys. Is it a prong? Is it a screw? And you're going to find the spot where you want her arm to be attached to her shoulder. And then you are going to take a pair of scissors and gently, and Lord God, I mean gently, because this sucker will rip, and you will have put so much work into your doll that you might want to call 911. I mean, I have gone through some stuff where I just didn't want to go to work. Of course I went to work and I was ashy, but barely made it. But so you see, I put a little hole in there, and now you should hear this click, 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 and that's when you know you've done it right. So you want to hold it together just like in the picture here. See? Click, click, click. Here we go. See how you are now able to move the doll's arm around at the shoulder? It's a very nice, smooth movement. And I like this movement better than a wire armature, because sometimes with the wire armature, it causes the fabric to crease at the shoulder, and it doesn't always look as sharp. So now I'm going to go ahead. I decided I wanted to sculpt her bosom a little bit more, because I felt that once I put her bikini top on, that it would, affect the volume. So I wanted to make sure that they were in place perfectly. I used the plastic joints for all of my life-size dolls, but the only problem is that the joints are never big enough, and that's why the arms at the shoulders always look a little weird. But now, from making this video, I think what I would do in the future is I would take the portion of the joint, the plastic joint, that looks like it has a screw sticking at the top, and I would create the size that I want using hot glue, and I would stick it in the hot glue, because hot glue is very durable. And then I would do the same thing on the other side, and then it would fit the shoulder better. And this is why I love making YouTube videos, because it just seems to me that it helps me grow as an artist by sharing. Again, I decided to add a little bit more definition to her bottom, because I know that once I put on her mermaid tail, it's going to alter her body shape. So I want to make sure that everything is firmly in place, so that she'll have that little ooh la la. She'll keep her nice feminine form. So now I'm going to create a navel for her. So I take the thread from her back, the bottom of her back, the very top of her bottom, her buttocks, and I'm going to stick it through the front. You see right where I think the navel should be, and it's really nice and soft fabric the sock is. And now I'm going to take it to the back and pull it nice and taut. And then I am going to go back in again, and I'm going to create maybe an X or a cross a couple times, pulling it very tight, and then I'm going to secure it in the back by creating a tying knot, like, you know, how you just reinforcing it with the needle and thread by going in and out several times to hold the navel in place. I think this mermaid sock doll body looks very lovely. It has really come together nicely. So as you can see in the video here, I am taking the needle in, and when you get to the loop, take the needle through the loop, and that creates a knot. So I did that at least 2 or 3 times to secure her navel in place. So now we're going to get ready to sew on Geraldine's head. Yay, here's Geraldine's head. Her eyes have dried. Everything is nice and perfect. You see how I took the wire armature and I like to twirl it around just so it'll have some weight to it, and not just weight, and size. And I'm going to, oh my God, look, I'm so excited. I'm watching this as if I forgot that I ever did this. So I am just making sure that it's the perfect neck size that I want. And I am going to stick her head onto this wire armature. You see, what I'm doing right now is I'm taking my fingers and I'm creating a space for the wire armature with my fingers. Now, you would definitely need to do this. And I know other people put their doll heads on and it's a completely different way. And this is just my preference, okay? I like this way. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to fit it on. Now, she can move her head, you know, up and down, saying yes, and, you know, sideways, saying no. You know, I love it. She can do whatever she wants with her head. And but the downside is that she has, usually my dolls have a choker or a necklace, because I like to cover the area where I am ladder stitching the head onto the body. But for my other dolls, the reason I prefer this method is because it's very difficult for me to get the chin area and the lip area the way I want it when I do other methods. I've tried the chin and the neck. It needs to be a certain way in order for me to be able to add the lips and to have the angle that I particularly find attractive. So now I am ladder stitching the doll's head onto her body. Now you're going to need to add fiber fill as you go to make sure that it's nice and sturdy, and also to make sure that it covers up the wire. But when you first start ladder stitching the head to the body, don't worry about the fiber fill, because you want to first just make sure everything is in place. Now, I always go around twice. So you're going to ladder stitch it around the first time completely, and then after everything is sewn, you're going to go around one more time. And this will help you correct any mistakes that you might have made. And always try to end up in the back of her head, because her hair will cover the little tiny knot where you stopped sewing. For this particular doll style, for this sock doll, you don't really have to separate the head from the body. But the reason I prefer to separate the head from the body with this technique, this particular sock doll, is because when her eyes are drying with the crystal coat glaze, you really need to let the head dry by itself. And especially since you need to allow each eye to dry separately, because the crystal glaze will run out of the eye. So what I like to do is prop the doll head in such a way that the crystal glaze will remain in place. And for this particular type of sock doll. And the next sock ragdoll tutorial. I'm so excited. This sock ragdoll, her name is Jewel, and we will not be disconnecting the head from the body because we are going to paint the face, which is going to make it a lot easier and faster for people who want to make a doll for their loved ones or for children in the hospitals. And I'm making this doll particularly for one of my subscribers who really keep me inspired. Now that I have finished sewing on Geraldine, the mermaid sock doll's head to her body, I'm so excited. I am now about to use some elastic ruffle, this like little sheer ruffle, and we're going to make a nice little choker for her. And I thought about some beads as well, and I bought them, but at that time I had already put the little black elastic ruffle around her neck, and I thought it looked cute. But you can also use beads, which basically you would use what do you call these little bracelets, those little little bead bracelets that you can get from Walmart in the kids section. Yes. So you want to put those around the doll's neck, like you want to fold it like 2 or 3 times and hold it in place, and then sew her head on. And that's how I put the necklaces onto my Jungle Beauty Goddess dolls. And I think this gives the doll a little bit more personality, and it brings them to life a little bit more. I'm using a stick pin to hold the little rosette in place to make sure it is centered, and then I'm going to simply sew the 2 pieces, the 2 ends together in the back. And you want to always, make sure that the hair covers any mistakes that you may make. In the next video, we're going to go over how to make her mermaid tail and her little bikini top. I know there is a doll inside of you who is just dying to come to life, but only you can breathe life into her. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.